Bonjour French 1. We're going to try something a little bit new today in that this is just going to be a review video. Nothing I show you today should be anything new. It's literally just everything we've been talking about through this section condensed into one short video, kind of to help you get ready for the test. So one of the first things we talked about, or one of our first learning targets, was knowing the names of your classes in French. So go ahead and fill them in along with me. The three science classes we learned were la biologie, which is of course biology, la chimie, which is chemistry, and la physique, which is physics. As far as social studies go, we learned l'histoire, which is history, and la géographie, which is geography class. As far as languages, whether they're your language or a foreign language, we learned about le français, which is of course French class, l'allemand, German, l'anglais, which is English class, and l'espagnol, which is Spanish class. A few of the other ones that we talked about that kind of fall under the miscellaneous or the electives category include les arts plastiques, art class, l'éducation musicale, which is music class, l'EPS, which is short for éducation physique et sportive, otherwise known as physical education or PE in English, and l'informatique, computer class or computer sciences. The other thing you want to be careful about, these are not officially classes, but these are things that happen at school that you'll need to be familiar with. Le déjeuner is lunch. La sortie is dismissal at the end of the day when you get out of class. And then la récréation is any break time that you have during the day. At the elementary level, it's recess, but at the high school level, it's those passing periods and breaks that you have throughout the day. So this is all vocabulary that you need to be familiar with, as is this stuff. Telling time vocabulary is another major thing that we've done. That includes days of the week, times of day like morning, afternoon, and night, and actually those phrases from your clock. So folks, let's start with days of the week, including starting with Monday, because remember, French people do not start their days of the week with Sunday. They always start first with Monday. So Monday is lundi, Tuesday is mardi, Wednesday is mercredi, Thursday is jeudi, Friday is vendredi, Saturday is samedi, and Sunday is dimanche. Two other days of the week that are not official days are aujourd'hui, which is today. So today, when I'm actually recording this, it happens to be mercredi. Aujourd'hui, c'est mercredi. Today is Wednesday. You may not be watching this on a Wednesday, though, so don't get confused. And then demain is tomorrow. So if today is aujourd'hui is mercredi, then demain, tomorrow, would be jeudi. Again, it may not actually be when you're watching this video, but just using them to kind of show you how it can work. As far as times of day go, in the morning is du matin, afternoon is de l'après-midi, and evening or nighttime is du soir. The other major thing, of course, you need to be familiar with are the ways of actually telling a specific time. We learned how to do conversational time using the numbers 1 through 12 for our hours, and then some of those conversational times phrases, which you can see written in here. Times like midi and minuit, which are noon and midnight. If you give a time such as 6h10, you're saying that it's 6 hours 10 minutes, as in 10 after 6, which is what I'm actually showing here on the clock with these arrows. If by chance you were to move this minute hand over to right here, you would be looking at 6h15, which would be 6 hours and a quarter, otherwise known as quarter after 6. If you were to move it all the way down to here, you would be looking at 6h30, which would be 6 hours and a half, as in half past 6, we would say 6:30. If you moved it all the way over here, now you're getting so close to 7 o'clock that you would actually start saying things like 20 till 7, quarter till 7. You could even say 10 till 7. Because it's 20 till 7, when you actually pronounce it, you no longer say 6h, you say 7h moins 20. Literally, it's 7 hours minus 20, 20 till 7, which is also known as 6:40. If you were to move the minute hand all the way over to here, you'd be looking at 7 hours, as in 7 o'clock minus a quarter. Quarter till 7 is 7h moins le quart, minus a quarter. So again, be kind of familiar with some of those just to kind of review. You can look back at your numbers as well if you need to. The third topic we talked about was RE verbs. Remember, there are 2 steps to changing the ending on an RE verb. The first thing you need to do is drop off the RE, and then you actually add those RE verb endings. And of course, the endings are looking at you right there, and you'll probably want to jot them down one more time. But the way I've been trying to get you to learn your endings in class is using that very strange song to the tune of Three Blind Mice. Once again, it goes S, S, sh, S, S, sh, O, N, S, O, N, S, E, Z, E, N, T, E, Z, E, N, T, les verbes R, E, les verbes R, E. So just as a quick example here, you're going to go ahead and fill this in. If you had to do the nous form of attendre, what I've done here is exactly what those 2 steps say. I've dropped off this ER here. I noticed that nous is my subject, so I added the nous ending right up here from the chart, which is ONS. Nous attendons le bus is we wait for the bus, or we are waiting for the bus. Same thing with this next one. If we want to say they are selling their car, you take the verb for to sell and you drop off the RE, just like it says to do right here. And then when you notice that the subject is ils, when you check the chart, you'll see that the ils ending is indeed ENT. Ils vendent leur voiture is they are selling their car. And then with perdre here and L, this is one that catches people off guard. Make sure you're still following the 2 steps. You drop off the RE, which leaves you with that stem of PERD. And then when you check up here for the ending, you'll see that there is no ending. But make sure that you did indeed drop off the RE. I got a lot of people that are forgetting step 1, and they're just saying, hey, I don't have to add anything. You do have to drop the RE, and then you're right, you don't have to add anything. Elle perd son crayon is she loses her pencil, or she lose her pencil. Doesn't really make sense in the English language, but it's kind of interesting. The 4th topic we talked about was asking your opinion of classes and giving your opinion of classes. 2 ways that you can ask somebody about their classes. The first one uses the word comment. Don't forget that comment literally means how. So when you ask comment est ton cours de biologie, you're asking how is your class of biology, as in how is your biology class. Biology is underlined here because you can fill in any class you want to. Biology is just the one that I'm using as the example here. So anytime you see comment est or comment tu trouves, they're asking how is it? How do you find it to be? What do you think of it? That kind of thing. Ça te plaît literally means does it please you, as in that's their way of saying do you like it. So ça te plaît l'allemand is do you like German? Again, German is underlined here because you could put in anything at all there that you want to, but ça te plaît is another way of asking do you like it. If you do indeed like these classes and you want to say something positive, here are some of those phrases. And if you want to jot down what they mean in English next to them, you can. I would recommend doing that really throughout this video, especially for anything that you're not really familiar with. If you look at one and you know right off the bat it's interesting, don't waste your time writing it down in English. But if you look at one and you're not so sure what it means, like maybe you forgot what facile is, go ahead and jot that down as well. I didn't put it on the slides, but that doesn't mean you can't add it on your own. So again, il est facile is it's easy. C'est intéressant is it's interesting. C'est fascinant is it's fascinating, which really is just a fancy schmancy way of saying interesting. Je trouve ça génial is I think it's awesome, or I think it's great. Now you can switch these words up however you want. You could say il est génial, it is great, or c'est facile, it's easy, or you can say je trouve ça fascinant, I think that it's fascinating. You can change these up however you want, and that's fine. The last one is ça me plaît beaucoup, which is it pleases me a lot, as in I like it a lot. If by chance you don't like a class, 2 things you could say would be il est difficile, for it's difficult, or c'est ennuyeux, for it's boring. So make sure you know the difference between which ones of those are some positive reviews of a class versus a negative review of a class, because you will see them on the test. The next thing we talked about was another type of verb. Now, we've talked about ER verbs before, so that's nothing new. And when we talked about ER verbs, we talked about these endings that are in bold, just to go ahead and show them to you, except for this one. Don't pay attention to this E. When we first learned ER verbs, just like when we learned RE verbs, we learned that it's a 2-step process. You have to drop the ER off the end of the verb, and you have to add the right ending based on the subject. Now, those endings, again, are here in bold. So for the je ending, it's E. For the tu ending, it's ES. For the il ending, it's just the letter E. For the nous ending, it's technically ONS. We'll talk about why this is here in just a minute. For the vous ending, it's EZ. And for the ils and els ending, it's ENT, which was all fine and good until I told you that I had lied and left out one itsy-bitsy little kind of detail, we'll call it. And that detail has to do with when there's a G before your ending that you're adding on an ER verb, or a C before the ending that you're adding on to that ER verb. You'll notice that none of the other forms have an issue. These are all the same: je form, tu form, il form. They follow the standard procedure of dropping the ER and adding the right ending. But what I need you to pay close attention to today, and let me go ahead and grab my highlighter here, are these news forms. The news form of a verb that ends in a GER instead of just any old other ER verb has one slight change in the news form. That is that you have to leave the letter E in there. So while normally we drop the ER and we add ONS, in the news form, so that it's not mongon and not a hard G sound, you actually have to leave the E in there. So if you find yourself writing a word and you end with a G and then you go to add your ONS, leave that E in there. Only whenever it's ending in a G, only when you're adding an ONS. Nothing else is different. Same kind of thing happens down here with the verbs that have a C before their endings. Verbs that have a C before the O and S. Again, C before an E ending, C before an ES ending. None of these other forms have an issue. It's just in the news form. And again, it has to do with, so that it's not a hard C sound, we don't want to say comment quand. So what they'll do is if there's a C before the O and S, it's not the same rule as this one. You don't leave the E in there. Instead, you add a cedille, which is that little accent mark that almost looks like a 5 hanging off the C. It's kind of hard to see here, but you add that to your C. So instead of being comment quand, it becomes commençons. So again, it's only in the news form. There's a special rule if there's a G before the O and S, and that is that you leave the E in there. And there's a special rule if there's a C before the O and S, and that is that you add the accent mark to the C. Don't confuse the rules and don't apply them all the time. Only use them in the news form. All right, we're almost done, folks. The last thing we talked about is when you put the word le in front of a day of the week. And basically, all that le does is say that instead of just happening one time on that day of the week, this particular week, that it happens every week on that day of the week. So the difference between mardi and le mardi in French is mardi, if you say that something's happening on mardi, you're saying it's happening on Tuesday, and it's only this Tuesday. But if you say that something's happening on le mardi, you're saying that it happens on Tuesdays. So French does not work like English. You can't write the word on and then an S to mardi and make it on mardis and make it be the same as in English. In order to show that habitual action, show something that happens every single week, you put the word le in front of the day of the week. So quick question, one time or every week? Take a look. J'étudie le dimanche would mean that you do that every week. This means I study on Sundays. Because they put the word le before Sunday, that means on Sundays, as in you do that every single week. Here's your next one. Nous allons au cinéma vendredi soir. That would be just this Friday night. This means we're going to the movies Friday night. There's no le in front of it, so it's just this Friday. It's not every single Friday. Last one. Il a chimie le jeudi. Again, when you see that le in there, it means that it happens every single week on that day. So in this case, he has chemistry on Thursdays. It's not just this Thursday that he has chemistry. There's a le in front of that, so he has it on Thursdays. Hopefully this recap kind of gave you an idea of all of the things that you'll need to know for the test. Hopefully writing it down one more time gave you the practice that maybe a few more things stuck in your head, or maybe seeing in a different format kind of makes things work better for you. But either way, this is the main topics and the main ideas and the main points that you will need to know for your upcoming test.